If racing motorcycles is your thing, if old motorcycles is your thing, this video is for you. I recently had a chance to sit down with the guy that built Bridgestone motorcycles from the 50s and 60s and raced them, and is a technical expert. He has been for pushing 60 years now. This video is definitely for you. So sit back, relax, and let's watch the interview that I had with Larry, just going through his entire garage of these super awesome old Bridgestone Japanese motorcycles. Let's get started right now. All right, so yeah, you know what, the lights, yeah, I want the sun behind me. So anytime you want to start, however you want to start it, it doesn't matter. I already got this going, and I'm just going to edit as, you know, as we do it.
My name's Larry. I've been playing with motorcycles since 1957. I've had just about every kind you ever think they ever made, except Italians. When I first started, Italian bikes were junk, and now they're too expensive to own, so I don't own any. But I've had everything in between. I started collecting Bridgestones because they was readily available. The factory closed down and left all the bikes and parts to the dealers, so they still had parts. So it's kind of nice to rebuild one and there's parts available for them. I've had probably 200 or 300 Bridgestones. I recently sold 50 of them. Don't know why, I just sold them. And I had a lot of fun, met a lot of people with them.
So the Bridgestone company is a Japanese company, right? And do they only make motorcycles in Japan?
That's all they did. Tires and motorcycles in Japan, that's all they did, yes.
Okay, and then
They got selling so many tires, they needed more room, and the bike sales were not going very good.
now, didn't Bridgestone like make tires for Kawasaki and Honda and all those other motorcycle companies?
Not at first, no.
Okay.
Through the years they changed. Yeah.
Okay. And then we were just talking earlier about the motorcycles were imported and were assembled in Rockford or something like that?
Yes. And why there are so many parts left, when Bridgestone closed, it closed overnight.
Okay.
So all the dealers and distributors had bikes and parts.
Okay.
The guy in Rockford was such a jerk. He took his parts, put them in dump trucks, and put them in the dump, sold them for
They scrapped them?
scrap them. Needless to say, a lot of them didn't make it there.
Okay, so you got intercepted. Okay.
All through the country. And some of my parts came from different people that scrounged them, you know.
Okay.
But
And this was in 1970? Is that when they
Yeah.
all this happened?
Yeah.
So what was Bridgestone doing in the 50s and 60s that, you know, made them like racing bikes and things like that?
yeah, they started out like everybody else with a little bitty bicycle with a little motor sitting on the front wheel.
Yeah, I heard a little 27 cc bike motor, little two-stroke.
And then they made the B7s, which I have still got some, which was a fan-cooled electric start, was really something back then. You know?
Okay. Yeah, they had, it wasn't a manual start anymore.
And they had all kinds of 90s, 100s, 175s, which was their best bike, and the 350, the last one they made.
Okay. So they had a bunch of 50cc bikes, or motorcycles. So let's go inside and you have a few to show us, right?
Yep.
All right, so you got a few motorcycles back here. Now, did you ride and race these?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay.
It was sportsman racing, not for big money, but for trophies.
Okay.
To have fun, which is a big thing in early, late 70s, 80s. Oh, we raced 3 times a week.
Okay. And which one did you race?
I raced number 8 over there.
Okay. Now, did you ever get hurt?
Well, I broke my foot a couple times.
A couple of times. Okay.
And the 175, which was a super racer.
That's what this is?
Yeah. It was that's factory racer, so it's one of the few that's worth a little money today.
Wow. Okay. And you have the same number on it, 33.
The next one I built for Bonneville, and I never did get there, of course, but I'd love to go out there someday.
Okay. Is that number 8?
Next one was a factory racer. 100.
That's 100 cc?
Yeah.
And they're all 2-stroke, right?
Yes.
So you got to mix the oil in, and but 2-strokes are a little bit more powerful, aren't they?
Very powerful and real light.
Okay.
And that is a 90 factory racer.
A 90 cc. So the 100, is that just basically a bored out 90?
Basically, yes.
Okay. And what about this one over here, this black one? Is that also a 90?
That's a 90, yeah.
Okay.
This one here is a Honda Trails bike, and Honda must have made 50 million of them.
All right.
All the kids learned to ride on that, and because it's very low gear, you could take off idling and it wouldn't kill the engine. So,
Okay. I'm pretty good at stalling an engine on anything.
So, of course, Honda, you know, really got big and made beautiful motorcycles.
Yeah, you have a new one in the garage, don't you?
Mm-hmm. This one here was the first flat 4 water-cooled Honda ever made.
Oh, this one over here, okay. So that's a 4-banger, huh?
Yeah, 1000 cc.
Oh, that's a big engine.
And it's the first one they put disc brakes front and back.
Wow.
So they did a lot of nice things to them. That was one of the first ones sold around here. And I rode it 70, 80,000 miles.
80,000 miles on a motorcycle? So you got some road time. And what about this one? This looks a little smaller.
Yeah, this is a Bridgestone. It's what they call V7.
Okay.
It's one of them fan cooled. This one don't happen to be electric start. Yes, it is. This electric start one.
This one looks nice. Is it a 50 cc?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the side of that engine.
Well, you know, in Europe, they have thousands of them running up and down the street. And
Okay.
around here, you get killed because it won't go fast enough. And, you know, they made a lot of step-throughs. Women really like them. Step-throughs because you got a little skirt there.
What, like this one?
Yeah.
This is a Bridgestone?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
It copies Honda a little bit. Honda looks just like it.
So it looks like almost like a scooter, but this is a motorcycle.
Right.
Okay. Almost looks like a moped. Hopefully that's not offensive to a motorcycle person. Wow, and that's a 50 cc?
Yeah. This is not electric start, but it's the same motor as the other one.
And what's the biggest motor, their engine that is in a Bridgestone? You said a 350?
350.
350 cc?
Yes.
And do you have one of those?
I have none.
Oh, okay. What's the biggest one that you have? A 175?
Yeah.
And where's a 175? Did I just look at it?
Just the racer is the only one I got.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I take it back. This one here.
Oh.
175.
That's a 175? Yeah, that is a much bigger engine. Wow.
Yeah, 6 months ago you couldn't walk back here, be too many motorcycles. Good friend in Maple Park, Illinois, was a Bridgestone dealer for years.
Okay.
And of course, when they closed up, he had all these parts. And I told him, if you ever decide to get rid of them, I want them. And unfortunately, the man died.
Oh.
And I bought the parts from his wife.
Okay.
Only thing you can't get anymore is cosmetic parts. As far as foot pegs, You know, light bulbs, cables, anything's not cosmetic, people still had them.
Okay.
I have had a lot of fun. I don't sell them. The guy wanted something, and I just give them to him.
That's good. I like that. That you're not just hoarding the parts. You're here to be helpful.
Yeah, I got good friends in New York. The Bridgestone dealers are collectors, and we swap parts back and forth. If I'm, hey Larry, you got this? I said sure, and I'll send it to them. And same thing when I was working on them, and I asked them for something, they send it back.
Okay.
That's a good part of it. You made a lot of good friends, had lots of fun,
Right.
and not a whole lot of money invested.
Right. Now, when I was doing a little bit of reading this morning, that Bridgestone, because they were engineered to a higher tolerance, to a higher, that back in the late 50s and early 60s, they actually were a little bit more expensive than the average motorcycle, weren't they? But today you can get some of this stuff for not as much.
Another thing that happened later on here, a guy could buy a Honda, put gas in it, and go down the road.
Okay.
Buy the Bridgestone, you got to mix it. So you couldn't go to the filling station and get it.
Right.
So people just quit riding them.
Wow. So it's because of the 2-stroke instead of being a 4-stroke.
And nowadays you couldn't anyway, because EPA says because the gas and oil makes a little smoke, and they say you can't have it.
Oh. So if I wanted to, could I turn a Bridgestone into a street legal motorcycle?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They can't sell them by the hundreds because the EPA says no.
Okay.
You get away with it, a little bit of. Because they've even tried to stop chainsaws and weed eaters because they're 2-strokes.
What? Yeah, that's not okay.
But back to the motorcycles. I've had so much fun. Everybody's got to have a hobby.
That's right. And this is definitely your gig.
And like I said, I've met a lot of people, been a lot of places.
Now, at what ages were you racing? Were you in your 30s or?
No, early 20s.
Early 20s.
We went 3 times a week. I probably spent more money than I should have at the time. But basically, this part of the country, as far as dirt racing goes, road racing, you had to go to Florida, which I went 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
I was never really good, but I had lots of fun. Been with me to Daytona 3 or 4 times. We raced at Steamboat Springs. Just all over the country. Had a great time. Now, a little TV up there, that's one of the Taiwan jobs with a Bridgestone motor.
That is a Bridgestone motor on it?
Yeah. And they sold millions of them things, and they was cheap. And the kids got them, just ran the pants off of them. They kept on running.
Right.
When they got tired of them, they set them in the corner. They're not like nowadays, take them to junk. They set them in the corner.
Yeah. So this one was sitting around for years?
For years and years, yes.
And you're restoring it. Now, is it a 50cc?
Yes, it is.
Or is it a 90? I can't quite tell. Wow.
And these were really fast compared to the rest of them.
Sure.
And
now, is there any gears to this one?
oh yeah.
Wow.
It's a 4-speed box, and the handlebars will come down to a little nut so you can put it in the trunk of your car.
So it'll fit.
And it had a lot of little tricks to put their stuff under the seat.
Wow. Were these just for riding around out in the woods in the dirt, or is this someone could ride this to their school?
Well, they could. They was legal then.
Okay.
Had a headlight and tail light, and the dear government kept on adding this and that.
Yeah, to the requirements.
This and the engine had to be running for lights to work. And the government come out and said, "Oh, no, lights got to work when it's shut off." So they had to put a battery system in it.
So all it had was a magneto or a generator, actually, back then.
Magneto, yeah. This was deluxe Chibi with a light, headlight and tail light. I don't know if you can get that little blue one down there. It was a standard.
Oh, I see it.
Same motorcycle, no lights and no tail lights. And
Wow, that is so little. I mean, what is this? 3 feet tall?
about, yeah.
Wow. With a Bridgestone engine.
Yep,
But these were made in Taiwan.
yep.
Did it change brand, or is this called something different?
No, some of the parts they put Rockford on them, but as far as
Okay.
they never made a motorcycle that said Rockford.
Okay. And what is this white one here?
Well, that's the one I told you. I can't pronounce it.
Oh,
Florida is made in East Germany, and it didn't do well at all.
so this was an Eastern Bloc motorcycle.
Yep.
It's very Bridgestone looking. Because like the fuel
Back
tank.
in them days, they all look pretty much the same.
Okay. But this is an East German bike, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Same. It's brother to this one.
Okay. Well, you have quite a showcase here.
Well, if you'd been here 6 months earlier, you wouldn't be able to walk in there because there'd be too many motorcycles.
You said you sold 50 of them recently? Or in the last few years?
Yep.
Wow. I can't picture 50 motorcycles in addition.
Hey, you couldn't move.
Now you have a couple pictures out here. So one is that you're on one of your motorcycles here on a racer.
Yeah, I was in, that was in mid-Ohio.
Okay.
And the bike was built by a guy in Canada. And he was very smart, but not very healthy.
Oh.
So he wanted to sell that. And it's a very, very fast motorcycle.
Was it a 175?
350.
Oh, that was the big one. Is that the biggest that they made?
Yeah. It probably run 120 miles an hour easily.
And light. Now, at 350 cc's, is it still a two-stroke?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So every Bridgestone is a two-stroke.
Right.
Okay. Now you have a couple booklets here.
Yeah, they really like to advertise. I got some with back in them days. They have a pinup girl sitting on the motorcycle. You know.
Right. That's the way it was back then. Yeah. So what does the future for folks that collect Bridgestone motorcycles and the older Japanese motorcycles?
I think a collector will always collect until he dies. And a lot of them, they don't much care what it is, they collect it.
Okay.
I got a friend in Sycamore, probably got 300 motorcycles, all different brands, all different. They'll never get rode, they'll just sit there and look at it.
Yeah.
And
So
hey,
they're
it's better than other hobbies, you know.
sure.
At least when you pass, you can sell them and and come out of it. But people to do it for just plain collectors.
Yeah.
My wife always kid me and says, at least you keep you out of the taverns. And that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. But haven't got time for taverns. You're playing with motorcycles.
No, not when you're rebuilding engines. You know.
This is my favorite part in the wintertime because it's got a furnace back there.
Right.
And then come out here and tinker all day without playing around in the ice.
29 below zero, and you're out here being productive.
It's good for my health and makes me happy. And I haven't got all that much money invested in it, but
Oh, I think you got a pretty penny over here. Well, you sold 50, so you know what they're worth.
yeah.
You know. So how many others are collectors of Bridgestone motorcycles?
When we was really going to clubs and that, there's not that many. Maybe 25 guys in the United States.
Wow.
But you know, Bridgestones are numbered. There weren't all that many around.
Right. Yeah, it's a limited resource.
And the guys I know in the Bridgestone Club, most of them are millionaires. And
So you're a millionaire?
new, and their bikes are absolutely perfect. There wouldn't be a spot where the paint was. They were new. They're absolutely showroom perfect.
Okay. Everything about them. All right.
And you can do that if you want to spend the money.
Sure. And the time and the detail and if you want to do it for 100 hours a week.
I used to get these seats reupholstered for $40. You'd be lucky to do it for $300 today.
Yeah, or find the people that have the skills and the knowledge to do it.
And chrome plating's another one. Absolutely out of sight.
Would this normally be chrome?
Yes.
Okay.
Chrome plating is unreal.
So how much do you think it would cost to turn this, for it to be worked and then chromed?
At least $200.
Wow.
I got two friends in New York that collect Bridgestones, and are absolutely wonderful people. I enjoy them terribly, very, very much. And they have hundreds of Bridgestones between them, and lots of parts.
Okay.
Like I said before, we change parts now and then. Larry, he rides his Bridgestones on the street.
Okay.
He lives in a place, I ain't gonna tell you the name of the place, you won't believe it. Whitelaw, New York,
Whitelaw? Okay.
which is out in the country, and he's a great Bridgestone mechanic, a great person, and Janet and I have been out there 3 or 4 times this place, and just have a great time.
Yeah.
And the other man is Randy Gibbons, and he probably got more money than all of us, and he's got quite a collection. And it's, like I say, it's strictly to look at, not to sell, not to race them,
Just to enjoy.
Just enjoy them.
Yeah.
He's a retired road commissioner, so he says, have to have something to do. I can go out in my little shop, it's heated, and play around. And he says, it keeps me out of trouble. I said, I know what you mean about that.
Yeah.
So there's 2 guys that are just super guys. And there's a man that lives in Birmingham, Alabama. He's a lawyer. And his bikes are absolutely perfect. So a guy buys a new one today, he might ride it 10 years.
Okay.
Years ago, if it lasted a year and a half, you did good.
Yeah, it was like back when I was growing up, a car driven 70,000 miles was practically junk.
Right.
And now that's considered almost new.
Yeah, and the only people right now that's doing anything is Harley. And they make a really nice bike. They make all kinds of them. Yes, they're expensive, but guys ride them forever.
Right.
And like I said, the old ones, if you went 300 miles on an old one, it was junk. But guys are putting 100,000 miles on their Harleys.
Wow. And that's just almost unheard of.
Yeah.
Back when I was growing up, if you put 5,000 on a motorcycle, you were just an amazing motorcycle enthusiast.
Well, that's 75. You got about 75,000 on it.
Wow. Okay.
The 82 up in the garage has got 180,000 on it.
And how long have you had that?
Since it was new.
You've driven it 180,000 miles.
And the 202 has got 160,000 on it. What expensive I did to them? None, other than tires and maintenance.
Okay. So it hasn't had an engine rebuild or swap out or...
I've known guys used to, on the bike up in the shop, you could buy a warranty when you bought it for added 6 years to it.
Right.
And I talked to the mechanics. I said, well, I'm going to have 200,000 miles on it. And he said, we had a guy, bike still under warranty with 200,000 miles on it.
Because you kept on renewing it?
Kept riding it, yeah.
Okay. So you've driven through a lot of states.
Yeah, some of our Bridgestone rallies. I had lots of fun.
Okay. Now you have a few engines here.
Yes, let's start with the smallest one here.
Is that the 27 cc or 50?
50 cc.
Okay.
Not much difference than the 60.
Okay. It doesn't look much different. Looks like a little extra.
And then these are 90s cc.
But they're the same basic layout,
Yes.
just engineered a little differently. Okay. So this was 90, 60, and 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now this one over here is 100
100
cc.
cc's. Okay.
This one is also 100, but a racer.
And how many gears?
4-speed.
4-speed. Okay. And this is the whole engine. So it's the whole 2-stroke engine. It's right here.
Yep.
That is not very large.
And then they're bread and butter, the 175 twin.
And that's your favorite?
Oh yes, by a long ways.
Well, 175.
And it had
And it's a 2-cylinder or 1-cylinder?
2-cylinder.
Okay. Oh.
It had amazing lever here. You raise it up. You go through the gears 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Hit the lever and go back to neutral, which was super on
Instead
top.
of having to go back through 3, 2, and 1.
Or you can put the lever back and then work like it's supposed to.
Okay. Wow. So you had a little cheater bar there.
Yep. And this is a beautiful 350.
350 cc 2-stroke engine.
You know, at about 40 horsepower.
Wow.
And it beat most of the bikes of the day. It beat the Harleys and the Triumphs and the BSAs. It was fast.
Wow. Okay. Now, how many horsepower do you think is like one of these 50s?
Oh, I got it all rolled down. They're only
Like 7 or 8?
about 4 horsepower for this.
Okay.
You get up in the hundreds, about 6 to 8, you know.
Wow. Okay. Now, you were saying this is your favorite, but this was the biggest and most powerful?
Yeah, also a heavy bike. It's way too heavy for me.
Okay.
I think the rear wheel must have weighed 400 pounds. They just really built the thing up.
Right. Okay.
I didn't like getting it on my trailer and off my trailer. To go racing, you know.
Wow. Well, Larry, I appreciate you showing your collection. And I just want to say thank you for showing us these Bridgestone motorcycles, and very much appreciate it.
I thank you for doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Because sometimes if we don't capture this on video, if we don't capture this in book form or whatever, a lot of the information just gets lost.
Sure does.
So thanks for being willing to share it with us.
You're very welcome.
All right.